Good afternoon and welcome to our regular council meeting for January 8th, 2024. Happy New Year to everyone in attendance and also to our viewers at home. I'll call the meeting to order at 5:02 p.m. First item on the agenda under Land Acknowledgement. The town of Coaldale acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot peoples of the Canadian Plains and pays respect to the Blackfoot peoples past, present, and future while recognizing their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. The town of Coaldale is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. Under agenda item 1.2, conflict of interest declaration, pecuniary and non-pecuniary. Are there any in the room this afternoon? None declared, thank you. Under acceptance of the agenda item 2.1, we have the agenda for January 8th, 2024. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? See none, could I get someone to make a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated? Councillor Pickering. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 3.1, adoption of the previous minutes from our regular council meeting that was held on December the 11th, 2023. Are there any errors or omissions in the minutes? See none, could I get someone to make a motion that council adopt the regular council meeting minutes from December the 11th, 2023 as presented? Councillor Rees. Any further discussion? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. We're just going to skip down to information items. We have a public hearing coming up right away, so I just want to take care of a couple items. Under information item 12.1, the Handi-Ride Association financials are part of the agenda package. Are there any questions on the financial statements? See none, could I get someone to make a motion that council receive the update on the Handi-Ride Association financials as information? Councillor Chapman, thank you. Any further discussion? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. And then we also have the January and February newsletter for the Coaldale Public Library under agenda item 12.2. Is there any questions, comments on that information item? Seeing none, could I get someone to make a motion that council receive the Coaldale Public Library newsletter and calendar as information? Councillor Beekman makes a motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving back up to agenda item 5.1, we have a public hearing regarding Land Use Rezoning Bylaw 883-P-12-23. And we have, I'll call the public hearing to order at 5:06 p.m. And we have our senior planner, Hailey Winder, in attendance to introduce the subject matter of the public hearing. Whenever you're ready, Hailey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. Tonight's public hearing is for the proposed rezoning bylaw of lands legally described as Lot 4, Block 1, Plan 1811388. The proposed rezoning is to designate the land's industry from the current zoning, which is urban reserve. This would be in alignment with the West Industrial Area Structure Plan, which was adopted by Council in September of 2023 as amended. For context, the adjacent lands are predominantly zoned Industry I, Urban Reserve, UR, and Manufactured Home Park R3, as shown in the photo on the screen. The proposed rezoning is compliant with the recently adopted West Industrial ASP, as mentioned, and the subject lands are to be formally subdivided to accommodate the industrial development as contemplated in that ASP. Looking at the larger context, in order to make this decision, we need to consider the planning context for the redesignation, which includes consideration of the municipal development plan, the area structure plan, and what that looks like in action through the land use bylaw. So just a reminder, the town plan is a long-range plan adopted by council to ensure consistency and coordination through the approach as an approach to decision-making. And it defines the community's visions on a large scale. And it specifically identifies areas for growth and development of different types of uses within the community. Map 4, that should say map 4 at the top. Map 4 of the municipal development plan specifically identifies the subject lands as future industrial, and that again is in alignment with what is proposed this evening. Moving down that hierarchy of planning documents to the West Industrial Area Structure Plan, the subject lands were originally contemplated in the West Industrial Area Structure Plan. Then they were removed, then they're reincorporated as per the amendment that was adopted last year. The proposed rezoning will provide the correct zoning to the subject property in alignment with the goals and objectives of the ASP. So the purpose of the urban reserve, which it currently is zoned as, is essentially a holding pattern designation in order to mitigate or prevent premature or uncoordinated development and subdivision of lands until there is a proper plan in place. Now that there is a proper plan in place for those lands, the proposed rezoning to Industry I would be in alignment with the goals of the town plan and the West Industrial ASP. So, pardon me, notice of the proposed bylaw was circulated to all surrounding property landowners within a 60-meter radius as required by our land use bylaw. It was additionally advertised in the Sunny South News for 2 consecutive weeks over the holiday period and posted on the town engagement platform, which is Civicate. 2 submissions have been received via email, and I did speak with those two individuals who did submit and answer any questions that they did have. Those submissions are included in your agenda package. So council must hear any person, group of persons, or person representing them who claims to be affected by the proposed bylaw or resolution. After consideration of the representations made, council may pass the bylaw or resolution or defeat the bylaw or resolution. I'm happy to take questions at this time.
Thank you, Hailey. I'll open it up to members of council. Any questions, comments for our presenter? Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think this just clarifies again, and Hailey did qualify the reason why we are doing this today is mainly to clean that whole area up that was originally designated for that full area structure plan back a number of years ago.
Through the mayor, correct. Yes.
Councillor Beekman has a question or a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. Just curious to know here, the 2 submissions that are on here from the adjacent landowners, in the staff report it says landowner submission redacted. Were they both redacted, or which one was redacted?
Through there, thank you for the question. The email addresses for the submissions were redacted, and then the second email that you see attached was a PDF file that was attached to one of the emails, so it doesn't contain any email information on it. But it does have a phone number contact on it, so that was on the second one.
So they never redacted the concern?
No, the concerns were not redacted, just personal information.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments for our presenter? Hailey, if not to put you on the spot, but if you can back up to the area structure plan. So in a couple of the emails, the residents that live in the station grounds, mobile home park, as far as them being notified or anybody being notified during the area structure plan process, when that was being done, would you be able to explain how the notifications go out to the residents in that area, if there is even any to begin with?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I wasn't in this role at the time that the original plan was being prepared, I can't speak to the specifics, but I can give you an overarching understanding of how that engagement would have been conducted. There was 5 levels of community engagement for that original area structure plan. It included a virtual open house and online survey that would have been available to the general population of Coaldale. Then it was followed with a stakeholder input. So that would have been the specific landowners within that area. So anybody that's contained within that plan area, they would have been invited to have meetings with town administration. There was a second virtual engagement session. I will note that this was during the restrictions and lockdown phase, so they had to be virtual out of necessity. However, again, that would have been available for the general public to attend. Again, there was a Let's Connect Coaldale, which was our previous engagement platform. That page would have been launched for the duration of the engagement and provided information and updates on the discussions and any changes and updates on the plan itself throughout the process. Again, available for the entire public. And the public hearing for the original area structure plan, that would have been similarly circulated to the adjacent property owners, notified or circulated in the Sunny South News for those 2 consecutive weeks, and again advertised on that engagement software.
Thank you. The key point being the general public had all kinds of opportunity to participate during the area structure plan process.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions, comments for our presenter? Seeing none, Councillor Reese.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn, through to Hailey. Without putting you on the spot, the noise pollution, do you think that could be a concern for the residents nearby?
Thank you for that question through Mr. Mayor. So it is noted in the area structure plan itself that those concerns were raised, and the way that that is addressed, there are limitations on what types of uses can be put and permitted within the industry district. A lot of those highly noxious or nuisance-causing uses are not permitted. They would be discretionary in nature if at all permitted within that district. So any potential impacts, negative impacts, are also addressed through the means of sound attenuation, light pollution mitigation. Those factors are integrated into any permits that would be approved for the uses, especially adjacent to those existing residential uses.
Thank you. And I guess the same would go for the air quality as well, right?
Correct. So through Mr. Mayor, these kinds of issues in terms of pollution, those are monitored by like the industry regulators. Those are quite difficult for municipalities to monitor. We just don't have the correct staffing to do environmental assessments. However, they are required. Any industries that do go into our industrial park would be subject to their industry standards, regularly monitored and reviewed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
One more time, any questions, comments? Councillor Pickering.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn. Through to Hailey, just to clarify, there is commercial buildings on part of that property right now, is there not?
Through the mayor, thank you for the question. There are that portion of land was longer. Originally, it was subdivided. There was portions of commercial and mixed use to the east of, to the west, on the westernmost side of that lot. They have since been excluded from that specific lot.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions, comments for our presenter? Seeing none, then I'll ask if council has sufficient information to make a decision on the Land Use Rezoning Bylaw 883-P-12-23 from Urban Reserve to Industry. Thank you. I'll declare the public hearing closed at 5:17 p.m. And Hailey, I'm just going to get you to remain, I'm going to jump ahead to agenda item 7.1. And again, that's regarding the Land Use Bylaw Amendment 883-P-12-23 regarding second and third reading for rezoning from reserve to industry. Our presenter just went through the entire package for that. So is there any further questions or comments before I ask if anybody wishes to sponsor second reading of Land Use Bylaw Amendment 883-P-12-23 as presented? No questions. Anybody care to sponsor second reading? Councillor Chapman makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And then we're looking for someone to provide third and final reading of Land Use Bylaw Amendment 883-P-12-23. Councillor Pickering makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Hailey. Moving on to a business arising from the minutes, agenda item 6.1. We have Coaldale and Regional Pet and Animal Wellness PAWS Committee Terms of Reference. That was part of our agenda package. And with us this afternoon, we have the PAWS President, Kevin Bandelow, in attendance to speak to the terms of reference, and if there's any questions or comments from council on that. So Kevin, if you want to maybe just give us a Reader's Digest version of how long the committee's been in existence, and give us a little bit of background information on the program.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I do have a presentation that incorporates that, if I should go with that. Oh, so thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Council. So the PAWS committee, it started in roughly Q1 of 2023. There was a call out to residents of Coaldale and the region for participation in the Animal Wellness Committee. There was a concern raised with, I believe it was a recent shutdown of a facility that had to be closed for dogs. And so there was a need for a pet and animal wellness society here in Coaldale and the region. We held our first meeting, official meeting, July 19th of this year. The committee, or the executive, consists of 6 members. We've had a few drop off due to sabbaticals, leaving the country, and so we've brought on other people from that. January 2nd, we sent all of our documents off to the Alberta Registry for the society to officially be registered as a society. And January 3rd, we started our Facebook page for awareness in the community. Just some statistics that we received from Constable Mark Anderson. This was, I believe this is statistics just primarily related to Coaldale area. Up until October of 2023, there were 53 dog-related calls in Coaldale. There was a chicken somewhere. They had 3 other animal-related calls. There was one non-report filed dog at large, and really what that is, there was a report that there was a dog running around. It actually was retrieved by Shelby, who's also on our executive, and the dog was homed from there. There were 7 dog bite calls. There were 2 dogs that were euthanized, and it was euthanized voluntarily by their owners. We had 3 voluntary rehoming of dogs, and there were 6 DME, or resident dog adoptions, for unexpected litters of pups. And that's just in the town of Coaldale, up until October of this year when we received this information. Some statistics on the Facebook. So the Facebook page started on January 3rd. We already have, as of this morning, 120 likes of the page. We have 195 followers of our Facebook page. Our first post reached 7,000 people. We've had 51 comments, and we've been responding to the comments, liking them back, kind of thing. We want to build more social awareness and awareness of the PAWS Society for Coaldale. We've had 26 shares of that first post and 218 likes of that post. So if the next steps, we've filed, we've got to wait for our official registry or official society status. We're expecting that it'll take about 2 to 3 months is what we understand. But we've already started developing a business plan because we need to get out there. We need to develop what the society is going to need in order to complement or in order to complete this action. We want to start fundraising through donations and sale of hoodies. One of the challenges there is that we can't accept donations until we receive our society status. So that's a little bit of a hinder. So one idea to get around that is to increase awareness and potential raising of funds is through selling of the hoodies, the little markup that we do on that. We want to facilitate events. We had tried to get into the Night of Lights here in Coaldale, but our timing was just off, and so we couldn't do it. Just again, more to get awareness and bringing volunteers in. We've already created that social media awareness of the societies. We're starting a drip campaign on that. Every week we want to send out a statistic of something that's happening. So some of the stats that I provided earlier. Of that, and just again bringing more awareness of this. We need a volunteer drive. This is not going to be just on the 6 of us. We need volunteers. We've already got people asking what kind of help that we need through the Facebook page that we've started. On the long term, we need a facility. There have been many ideas thrown about, whether it was the old Westland Insurance building that we took a tour of. I've heard the pump house. I've also heard that we could potentially partner with a bylaw office that may be looking at. That's really what our long-term goal is, and that's what we need to do. We've been very fortunate in one of the last directors that has joined our board is Carolyn Terpstra, who set up the PAWS Society for Tabor. She was one of the founders, ran through it all. And so she's really been giving us some really good knowledge and guidance as we're going through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And we noticed with the terms of reference that they were very in-depth, so I could tell you had some professional help with that. So just a clarification on your fundraising. You say you're not able to take any donations yet. Like currently, until you have your society set up, the banking, my understanding, is going to be done through the town of Coaldale, like we're looking after any of that?
So for the expenses that we've incurred so far is our logo, and that was roughly $300, and I believe that Shelby's already been reimbursed for the town of Coaldale. The lawyer estimates it would be between $1,100 and $1,500 by the time we get our society. That's the only expenses that we've had so far at this point.
Okay, so the question I got then is there a problem if the town takes the donations on behalf of the society, if it's going to take several months, so that if you have lots of interest, and maybe I can ask our CFO to come and sit up at the gallery table here, or can you let me know if that's doable? Okay. Okay. Okay, so.
I think, Mr. Mayor, I think that the real challenge is not having the official society status and being able to consider it a charity, if we want to say it that way, because we also want to, we're limited to reaching out for grants until we receive that society status. We're limited to issuing tax receipts and being a formal, I think that's the only challenge.
Okay, no, I understand then. So just for some background information, and when the Coaldale and Regional Pet and Animal Wellness Committee was formed, the motion from March 13th, 2023, the regular council meeting was that council approve the Animal Wellness Committee as an official Town of Coaldale Council Committee, and that council appoint Councillor Lisa Reese to be on the committee. The terms of reference were discussed at that time, and we didn't have any to follow at that point. So the reason that we have you in attendance this afternoon is so that we can officially approve the terms of reference for the PAWS committee. So with that being said, I'll open it up for members of council if they have any questions, comments for our presenter. Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Mayor, and Kevin, thank you so much for your presentation and meeting with council this evening. We really appreciate the work and the effort that you're doing, and of course I've read through your through the proposal here, or through the definitions of the committee or the terms of reference. And I fully support everything that you're proposing here. My only question that I came up with was with regards to criminal record checks for volunteers or board members that you might be putting on onto your society in the upcoming year. So I would recommend that might be something that you might want to consider and review, and maybe just research that part out to find out if that's something that might be an obligation or requirement from your board.
Thank you very much for the question. That is a requirement that we've already placed in there for the background checks. We're currently just drafting our volunteer form, and also a letter that will go with that volunteer form, so that they can take the letter to their local police, RCMP detachment, and require that background to the criminal record check. And it's also going to apply for all the board members as well.
Thank you very much. And further to my question, currently, how are you handling all your animals, whether cats or dogs?
So we are only going to be focusing on dogs at this point in time. I understand that there is a challenge with cats. We've first seen it on the Facebook page. But we really need to focus on the dogs to get up and running at this point. We don't have any facility at this point in town at time. My understanding is that if there is a situation where a dog needs to be placed, a lot of the times it's being fostered through the Constable Mark. Even when we take a look at the region, one of our executive is a peace officer out in Raymond. They're doing the same thing. We're reaching out to other facilities. Town of Taber sometimes, or the PAWS Society of Taber sometimes can take a pet. Lethbridge itself will not take any, but there are other facilities. So it's a challenge right now. That's all what I would say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman. Any further questions, comments for our presenter? Seeing none, then could I get someone to sponsor the motion that council approve the terms of reference for the Coaldale and Regional Pet and Animal Wellness Committee? Councillor Reese makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Well, thank you, Kevin. I'm really glad to see that you have a social media presence now. I think we'll be able to help get you lots more support and committee members as well. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Moving on, under bylaws and policies, agenda item 7.2, we have a borrowing bylaw 884-B-12-23 regarding second and third reading. And we have our Chief Financial Officer and Deputy CAO, Kyle Beauchamp, presenting. Kyle, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thanks and good evening, Council. So we do have second reading of the borrowing bylaw, second and third reading 884-B-12-23, economic development for the rail spur. Council did pass first reading of this borrowing bylaw on December 11th, 2023. Subsequent to that, it was advertised in the Sunny South News to meet our requirements under the MGA, December 19th and 27th editions. After that, we haven't received any feedback or objections from the advertisement from any members of the public. With that being said, we're now presenting it to Council for second and third readings. Be happy to take any questions from Mayor and Council.
Thank you. I'll open it up to members of council for any questions, comments for our presenter. Pretty straightforward. Seeing no questions, I'll open it up to members of council if anybody wants to entertain a motion that council provides second reading of borrowing bylaw 884-B-12-23 economic development regarding the rail spur as presented. Councillor Chapman makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And then we're looking for someone to sponsor the third and final reading of borrowing bylaw 884-B-12-23 economic development regarding the rail spur. Councillor Pickering makes that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Moving on to council and committee reports. We're going to have a verbal update and a short presentation by Councillor Chapman regarding the Handi-Ride Association. So Councillor Chapman, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor and Council. I wanted to give a quick report with regards to the Coaldale and District Handi-Ride Association, and I do have a presentation. I can probably talk through it while you're talk through the presentation. So just a bit of history for Council's interest that it was back in the 1980s that Dr. James Oshiro pioneered the vision for a Handi-Ride Association. This came out of a need to transport service for those needing assistance due to physical restrictions. So in 1989, the Coaldale Community Hospital Association sponsored $20,000 to purchase a bus. So Dr. Oshiro, as you may recall, he also served on town councils, served on the Palliser School Board, University of Senate, and of course the Board of Governors. And he went on to be appointed as Canada's first Japanese chancellor. So the Handi-Ride or Handi-Bus Association was formed, and donations were collected from many individuals in the community, including the Japanese Canadian Red Dress Foundation, the Knights of Columbus, FCSS, Rotary Club of Coaldale, Town of Coaldale, and a number of others. The first board included Leonard Fast, John T. Clausen, George King, Doug Foxhall, Len Scheibner, Steve Slemko, Helen Duick, Betty Hrabar, Tom Tsukishima, Barb Kowalski, and of course Roy Niedermeyer. Its first drivers were George King, Bill Giesbrecht, and Nellie Slingerland. Over the next 23 years, the association owned a number of units, and as they were those out, they were donated to the Los Amigos campaign, coordinated by Carl Samuels of the Lethbridge Rotary Club. These units were repurposed to Mexico. So in 2013, the association purchased its current bus. So as of my report, I want to thank Council for its financial support of the association. It was a service that in 2017 had literally closed down. The board was tired, and so were its drivers. So in the meantime, I was able and successful in rallying new board members and new drivers for this vital service. And I want to thank Jerry Virginello, Tracy Dow for hanging on until those replacements were found. Town Council jumped in and began to assist with the financial operations of this bus. On its own, this service cannot continue and passenger service would be compromised and unaffordable. Today, the board consists of members of Terry Rosen, Clayton Vargasy, Rex Alcock, Jack Penner, Tim Jansen, Brad Calder, Benny Martins, Dave Olson, Tim Weens, and of course, our town council representative, Bill Chapman. They meet monthly, strategizing on how to deliver a quality and valued service to Coaldale. They continue to respond to growing needs for transportation to be effective, safe, and up to date in its operations. The association's three drivers, Mike Hogle, Harley Packer, and Wayne Street, are all passionate and love to serve their passengers. Our bookkeeper, Lou Weens, volunteers her time and energy and ensures that the association's finances are in order. So when she took over the bookkeeping responsibility, Lou spent many hours transforming the old box of longhand paperwork over to QuickBooks, and that is much better suited for our auditor, Everett Dirksen at Ignite here in Coaldale. The board continues to value the bus service in Coaldale, and in the spring of 2021, the board saw an opportunity to thank the town for its support and collaboration on a wrap to the back of the bus that marketed our downtown and Main Street, and you saw a picture of that earlier. We worked with town administration, including Cam Mills and Leah Cathro, to create a design, and we got it placed on. Since then, we have now embarked on a new advertising strategy for our businesses in Coaldale and to help raise funds for the operations of the bus. Along with many other charter activities, we have also been fully open to service and be a part of the community. As you well know, on August 21st, 2021, the bus was coordinated for the service of the firefighters attending the Captain Craig Wilson Memorial. Further to that, various senior groups have chartered the bus for various functions and activities. The board decorates the bus for the annual Summerfest parade, and our driver Mike Hogle also parks the bus at the annual fall community registration event at Eastview Park. Cam Mills applied for a grant for the association to fulfill this $183,000 grant application that was approved. The board is going to be embarking on a strategy to identify an appropriate unit for Coaldale services, as well as to transport service into the city. The 2013 bus, as Councillor Beekman has experienced, its lift is nearing the end of life. So we need to purchase a low floor unit that has a ramp and will be able to transport heavier chairs. As well, we want to begin actively servicing the new recreation facility in the northwest Coaldale. In closing, this is a most vital service that will allow so many residents to continue to make Coaldale their home, especially when they become dependent on external means of transportation. I'll take any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman, for excellent update on the Handi-Ride. I just have a question. So can you go over the criteria of who's able to use the service?
Thank you for the question, Mayor, and through to Council. The answer to that one is very simple, as though anyone who may have a physical challenge, particularly, and of course we haven't cut out or taken away anybody that doesn't require specific service. In other words, if a senior who isn't handicapped would like to have a bus ride somewhere, then we certainly would take that passenger.
Thank you. Because I had a text message from a lady that's with the Adult Mental Health Intensive Outreach Team at Alberta Health Services, and they were looking for service in Coaldale, and I'll just read what she wrote here, for things like medical appointments that do not fall under the criteria of seniors or physically disabled, thereby do not qualify for the service in Lethbridge. So is it safe to let her know then that for clients that live in Coaldale that need to go to Lethbridge, this service is available for that?
Absolutely, Mayor, and I would certainly encourage anyone who as well may require some service. And I want to just ensure everybody online as well as our general public that Coaldale's Handi-Ride Association wants to be inclusive of the community and not just isolated to a certain demographics. So we're growing. We're a growing community of over 9,000 people, and we're going to see a need in the coming years to incorporate, to be more inclusive of our community in all demographics.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up to members of council. Any questions, comments for Councillor Chapman? I guess you're off the hook then. Well,
Okay.
Thank you very much. Excellent presentation.
And I'll just move my report.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. I need someone, or Councillor Chapman makes a motion to receive the update on the Handi-Ride Association as information. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So that concludes the open portion of the meeting. I will be needing someone to make a motion that council move into closed session in accordance with section 197-4-B of the Municipal Government Act to discuss matters exempt from disclosure for items 13.1, 13.2, subject to section 16, business interests of a third party. Items 13.1, subject to section 17, personal privacy. Item 13.2, subject to section 21, intergovernmental relations, and section 25, economic and other interests of a public body. Could I get someone to make a motion that we go into closed session at 5:45 p.m.? Councillor Beekman, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.